Welcome back to the Dynasty Rookie YouTube channel. My name is Bob Van, and today we're diving into a 5-round rookie mock draft, trying to highlight the 4th and 5th round specifically, some of the treasures and traps you can kind of find yourself with or in when you're in the later stages of the draft, and we're going to get into that right now. All right, so we are going to start the draft real quick. It is a 12-team super flex, half point PPR, tight end premium, and with first pick, I'm pretty confident. I don't think there's any other way you should go in a draft early than to take Trevor Lawrence off the board right away. I wouldn't take anyone besides Trevor Lawrence solely for the fact of, yes, Justin Fields is sexier and honestly a player I would probably prefer to pick. Trevor Lawrence is just a safer player, not the sexiest pick. You know, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, even Zach Wilson offer a heck of a lot of upside. But when you look at it, Trevor Lawrence is set to start. He's going to be the guy right away day one. There's no questions on that like there's with Justin Fields and Trey Lance. I'm drafting with a bunch of buddies, people from the Dynasty Rewind team, people from the Fantasy6Pack.net where I also write. And then we've got some patrons mixed in there too and some other friends from other leagues. And Davis comes in with Najee Harris as the second pick. Pretty bold. You know, I don't have too much of an issue with it. Super flex, you'd think a quarterback. Tight end premium, Kyle Pitts makes sense at the 3. I would probably go quarterback before him. I would at least put Justin Fields ahead of Kyle Pitts. I know that's where they are in my rankings, but I get it being tight end premium. That's kind of the way you want to go. I get it. I ain't got nothing wrong with it. So being that this is a super flex draft, seeing Ja'Marr Chase come off the board at number 4 is pretty surprising. After Ja'Marr Chase, we see Justin Fields. Kind of get back into the quarterbacks. This is honestly shocking to see this much quarterback slide going on in the first round of the draft as the group chat is blowing up about whether or not to draft quarterbacks early in a super flex draft. I will say Maddie's bringing up a good point in the chat where he's saying that, you know, yeah, I drafted a tight end kind of early, but I'm assuming with my team that I have quarterbacks sitting around. The thing is, you have to draft for the team you have. That's the best way to go into a mock draft, is to have a team that you're drafting for in mind. Basically see where the players you can get kind of fall to and where you can kind of play around with that. If you need to work on trading up or if you can just kind of stay put, keep your value at the pick it is. So now we see the big 4 quarterbacks go off the board in order of Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Zach Wilson. And now we're getting to the kind of the back half of the first round, which is kind of where things start to get a little murky. I'll see if I can, I would love to take my guy Michael Carter here. I almost wish I could go Elijah Moore. So back to me, Trey Sermon comes off the board. Man, I should take Mac Jones here, but I'm not, just for the sake of letting someone else get a quarterback. I am going to roll with Michael Carter here. One of my favorite running back prospects this season. Haven't got to talk about him a lot lately since I haven't been drafting him in any mock. Very underrated as a prospect, in my opinion. One of the studs that you can get in the tail end of your first round, early second round even. That's where I've gotten him a lot in most of my drafts. For me, just an underrated talent. He's, you know, seen as a high volume pass catcher, like that's the role he's projected for in the NFL, which is kind of silly to me, because if you actually look at his college profile and what he did in college, he actually did a lot more damage on the ground than he did in the air. So you'd think that narrative wouldn't be there, but it is what it is. So we see Mac Jones come off the board as a huge value, honestly, in Superflex, even if he's not the guy right away. A lot of people are out on Mac Jones just because he's not that super flashy quarterback. People kind of feel if you don't bring rushing upside to a quarterback anymore, you're just, and honestly, there's theory to that makes that fair, where if you're not a rushing quarterback, you need to be like lights out as a passer. And honestly, I think Mac Jones is a pretty darn good passer. I think he reads the field pretty well. I don't know how he handles pressure is going to be a huge concern for me in the NFL. That seemed to be when he was by far at his worst, was when he was under pressure. And we see Elijah Moore come off the board, and I'm honestly such a huge fan of Elijah Moore, especially in a PPR format like this is. Even though it's half point, I still love him in this format. And in general, honestly, like I was considering him with my 2-1. I was okay to let him slide. I really wanted to get my guy in this fictional league. Then we see Pat Freiermuth, the second tight end, come off the board. And that kind of shows, in my opinion, that's relative in pretty much every league I've been in, is that Kyle Pitts is drafted really high and Freiermuth is drafted way behind him. That just shows, it emphasizes the gap that's between the two. So you see Terrace Marshall go off the board, and he's somebody who I've kind of come around on in the past week. I'm still not huge on him this year, at least, but he is somebody that brings something different to that offense. I like this college film a lot. It's a crowded wide receiver room, in my opinion, but he does bring something different. He brings a stronger presence, a stronger body to that offense in terms of he's a guy who can go up and get a ball. He's a decent route runner. Robbie Anderson's kind of more of a deep threat than anything else. He's not really a huge possession guy. He can be. Whereas DJ Moore is more of plays better in the slot, more of a possession type player who can pop off for a big run here or there with the ball in his hands. I'm pissed at Sean because I was really hoping to get Amari Rodgers. He's one of my favorite third round targets in terms of wide receivers, but he's creeping up way too much. I think I have a lot to do with that personally. At least in our circles, and we're already going to be kind of cruising into some deeper dives as we head into the third round. Even I'm going to roll with Dynasty Brown here. A little earlier than I like to take him, but with how the board's shaken out, it's kind of dried up a little quicker than I was hoping. Usually, you kind of get lucky, and some players end up falling to you. But Dynasty Brown, I don't have an issue with. My big concern is just going to be the amount of volume to go around in that offense. Again, he's a player that brings something a little different to that offense, so he can kind of fit in, earn a role quickly. There's not a lot of players really vying for roles as wide receivers. It's Terry McLaurin, it's Curtis Samuel. That's it. Then you got Logan Thomas, you got Antonio Gibson, you got J.D. McKissick. But so when you take the available targets that are likely to be had there, and then you stretch them out over all those guys, how valuable is everyone going to be in that kind of offense? Who knows? We'll see what happens. So then you start seeing some of the backup quarterbacks or so you have Davis Mills, Houston. I'm pretty sure Tyrod's a guy if Deshaun Watson isn't there. And then you have Kyle Trask, who's pretty much just a guy you're grabbing to throw on your bench, throw on your taxi squad, and hope he develops into something under Tom Brady. I'm not holding my breath personally. We'll have to see what happens. Then you see the third tight end come off the board. Brevin Jordan, that's been pretty common. I got my eyes on Jacob Harris and Kylan Granson as my tight ends to grab. I'm not a huge believer in Brevin Jordan. When you're praised for your athletic profile and then you come out and get athletically tested and you suck, not a great look, in my opinion. And you see another backup quarterback go off the board and Kellen Mond. Honestly, I didn't see Kadarius Toney is honestly, whether you like him or not at this point in the draft where, the receivers you're taking, you compare draft capital to these guys to, Tylan Wallace, who was a third round pick, I want to say, Smith Marset, who was a very late round pick. I'm going to smash Jacob Harris here. So you see Kadarius Toney, who was a first round draft pick, who's going to get work one way or another, unless he's a huge bust, like N'Keal Harry has been to this point, and that breaks my heart. I was a huge N'Keal Harry truther for a long time. That's an amazing value at the 3.9. That's kind of insane. I wish I would have actually seen him. I would have actually preferred him to Dynasty Brown, in all honesty. So back to Kellen Mond. You see him come off another backup quarterback behind Kirk Cousins, who's at one point was getting drafted even higher than this for some reason. A lot of chatter came about that if the Vikings were high enough in the draft, they would have taken Justin Fields and started their efforts to replace Kirk Cousins, but they weren't able to do that, obviously, so they drafted Kellen Mond in the second for whatever assurance you want to call that. Kellen Mond isn't a threat to me at all. He's a guy, maybe if Kirk Cousins goes down, they have a guy that can go out there and play a little more improv game, a little more, off cuff, a little more running around. Another pick I love. So the reason I went with Jacob Harris, one of the reasons I like him a lot is solely because of the fact he was able to get a ton of work in OTAs because Tyler Higbee did not show up. On top of that, Tyler Higbee just hasn't really, he had those 5 games at the end of the season 2 years ago, and since then just hasn't really assumed that role like you would like him to. So they bring in Jacob Harris, who was a wide receiver in college, but is now playing tight end just because of his size. So then you add into the mix, he got a ton of work in OTAs, like I said, so much so that they're already, comfortable having him out there. It'll depend how much work he gets in camp to see what he does, but definitely somebody to keep an eye on and keep watching for. Another pick I love in this round is Elijah Mitchell. Any San Francisco running back is worth a grab all the time, in my opinion. Elijah Mitchell actually had a crazy production profile. Man, I get sniped on Kylan Granson. That sucks. The reason I'm taking Khalil Herbert is he is a pure handcuff, in my opinion, to David Montgomery, but he's very similar running back in that he's twitchy, he's quick, he's not super fast, but he can make people miss in short yardage. The reason I really like Khalil Herbert is that David Montgomery's rookie contract is going to be up sooner rather than later. And so Khalil Herbert, if they're not able to re-sign David Montgomery when they have a really expensive defense to pay for and they're probably going to try to buy an offensive line, I would imagine, at some point. Running back's not going to be a priority for them, I don't think. So you stash Khalil Herbert, you put him on your taxi. He's a handcuff to Montgomery at best. He goes down, trade him to the Montgomery order. He goes down, use him yourself. Whatever the case is, I really wish I would have gotten Kylan Granson, but that's okay. My boy Pink Moose Jamie decided to snipe him on me. That's okay. I appreciate him a lot. Then we see some Seth Williams, some Jared or Garrett Dokes come off the board. Dokes is basically just a dart throw in Miami, seeing that they don't have a real established running back. I know people come at me and say Miles Gaskin is so established, and it's like he is, but at the end of the day, he wasn't drafted highly, so it's not like they have. If somebody comes in and wows them, there's nothing that will pull the plug on Gaskin if he's not performing or anything like that. It's if he has two fumbles in a game, he's probably going to get benched. Not saying it's going to happen, but that's something you have to kind of think about. I'm not huge on Tommy Tremble or Kenny Aboa. I don't even know who Reyes is, to be quite honest. Noah Gray, I really like. I wish I would have thought about him. I saw him earlier and I didn't think about it. Tommy Tremble is interesting. I think there's more opportunity in Carolina for a tight end to produce there. They have Dan Arnold. They had Ian Thomas, who hasn't done anything. Then you see Ian Book come off the board. Another one of those dart throw quarterbacks. Maybe, who knows what happens with the Taysom Hill and Winston situation. Maybe he gets some reps. I don't know. Like I said, not a huge fan of Kenny Yeboah. Noah Gray has been getting a lot of hype out of camp solely because of the fact of Travis Kelce's been hyping up, saying that he's a lot further along than I was at his age. So I would consider that pretty high praise coming from the one of the best tight ends in the league, Strakan, whatever. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he's been getting a lot of hype too. He had a good production profile in college, so he's somebody to look at. He's been at the top of sleepers ad list for like ever. So he's somebody worth looking at as an ad. Again, a lot of these guys are not being drafted in your league, and you can just throw them on your bench, call it a day, see what happens, throw it on your taxi squad. These are guys that do not take up any space on your actual roster. You can stash them, trash them if you need to. Otherwise, they're guys that can, maybe show up for you at some point. And then Pink Moose, Jamie ends it with Jake Funk, who I love Jake Funk. If you have not watched Jake Funk film, you need to, in my opinion, so because of the fact that he's an absolutely electric runner, and if he gets any reps in Los Angeles, I'm going to be glued to the television because I'm pumped to see what he does. He was like a 7th-round draft pick, so like honestly, there's no real evidence that he'll get any reps at all. But somebody to keep an eye on. If you can grab him, I almost guarantee he very good chance that he's on your waiver wire. Go grab him. Go check out Kylan Granson. He's out there. Trey McKitty, he was a guy I missed. Another guy to go check your waiver wires for. Daz Newsome, not really anything there. Kylan Hill, not really expecting much. Larry Roundtree, nothing there for me. Evans is a good running back, but unless Mixon gets hurt, which has proven to be a rather regular occurrence, unfortunately, he could be somebody that does something. J.B. Hawkins, another. When you have these ambiguous running back rooms that don't have a real starter, i.e. Atlanta, i.e. Miami, that just who have invested in the room but haven't really invested in the room. They haven't gone and drafted a 2nd-round draft pick, a 1st-round running back. Those are the places you target these late-round dart throws that you're putting on your taxi squad for nothing, and hopefully at some point you're able to elevate them and sell them, or just decide that enough's enough. You're not going to be anything. So that is it for the mock draft today. I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned some of the treasures and traps of the 4th and 5th round in your fantasy rookie drafts. If you did like it, if it was helpful, please leave a like. It really helps the channel. And if you could also check out these other YouTube videos of these other mock drafts, that would be awesome. Other than that, you feel free to leave a comment. What was your favorite draft pick of this draft? Who was a steal? Who was the biggest snipe? Who are you shocked to see? Who are you shocked to see not go in this draft? Let me know it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.